Welcome to the Your Life After Tech podcast. This is episode 13. I'm Debbie Levitt. Don't forget to check out our lifeaftertech.info multiverse, including our book, Discord community, coaching, live events, and more. Because you might be done with tech, tech might be done with you, or you're thinking about adding non-tech work to your tech career. Today's guest is Nicole Menkhoff, Nicolemenkhoff. After an impressive career, Nicole started her own consulting company in 2024. You can learn more at nfmsoc.com. We'll be discussing her interesting journey and being guided by values. Let's get to know Nicole.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. I'm excited to chat with you today. So most importantly, beyond work, who I am someone that I love music, art, running. I love geology. It's one of my special interests, as well as the history of trains. And I volunteer at a few places. I think my first loves, though, were math and science. And as such, when I went to get my formal education, I went that route. And so I have a degree in aerospace engineering with a focus in rocket propulsion, with minors in math and computer science. But since college, my professional career has been a fun journey, and I can say that with hindsight now. There's been some themes looking across all of it, helping others, choosing roles that are at the intersection of technology and strategy and decision making. That seems to be a recurring theme for me, as well as I am been pretty good about trying and delivering new things. One of my job criteria is, do I know how to do this? And if the answer is no, I'm probably more excited than if I already know how to do it. Honestly, all of that occurred in roughly a few phases too. And you're catching me at the start of what is essentially like a third phase. That's why I like in your book the concept of a phoenix. So this is the third rising, if you will, or version 3 here. And the first phase was like the first 11, 12 years of my professional career. I worked for the US government in the national security space too. And then the last 10 years, the phase I'm just sort of departing, I've been in the tech sector. And then today I'm speaking to you in this latest phase where I'm bringing it all together. I have my own advising and consulting business, NFMSO Consulting. And I started that in October. So we're just about a handful of months into that. So that's pretty much been my journey. And I'm pretty excited to say that it's been mostly fun.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll be asking you more about that later. First, I want to ask a little bit more about the past. Can you please tell me about some of the different types of tech work you've done in previous Nicole versions?
Yeah. So my journey in tech started in Google. And I was first in the Android and the consumer hardware spaces. But then most of my time, I was actually over in Google X. And I was leading operations for what was their largest robotics project. It was really amazing experience. And it was definitely hard to sort of leave that. And I knew it was time to try something new. So then I moved to Twitter. And at Twitter, I was doing machine learning and security, first machine learning and then security strategy and operations work. And so a lot of that was, partnering with the leaders on the technical side and then helping to define and drive strategy and then operationalizing those strategies on a day-to-day basis. I departed Twitter happenstance just as Elon was coming on board. That was a total coincidence, legitimately. And I went to Apple, and at Apple, I led a specific angle of operating system and user security work. It was in their software engineering division. And so it was more security sort of threat type work. And then most recently, I was at Ford Motor Company within their electric vehicle, digital, and design areas. Many people don't think of Ford as a tech company. And Ford, in many ways, is involving itself to be a technology product company, especially in the electric vehicle and digital space. And I was in that area doing change and operations management.
Awesome stuff, and woof woof to my cousin behind the scenes there. I wanted to ask, so it sounds like Nicole version 3.0 is not necessarily leaving tech, but maybe just kind of creating more control around your world or time or energy. Maybe, tell us about when you first started thinking about that move.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it too. I think it was when I was with Apple, and in many ways, it was more of a personal awakening in that I was starting to realize certain things about me, and my priorities were shifting. And I was comparing that sort of internal state to the external surroundings. And anyway, that personal awakening, I think, was one of the reasons that made me sort of explore beyond tech. And I think it was what helped me leave what otherwise was a great job. My time at Apple was amazing, to be honest. I had one of the best bosses I had ever had, and to this day. Um, but in many ways, I felt like it was coming about that I'm not necessarily done with tech, but I'm done with tech in terms of working on their terms. Um, and I'm happy to share a little bit more on that if you'd like. Yeah, so pattern recognition and flying pretty close to the sun for several years led me to observe that the tech sector decision making was slowly but surely moving away from innovation and making things that help the world to being a bit more focused on profit and shareholder value, which is important, but they were becoming overemphasized in the decision making. And that was in turn having an effect, in my opinion, that tech companies were losing their edge and the things that made them great. And honestly, the things that make me wanted to inspired me to want to be in tech. So if we're not having true innovation, what are we having? I saw a lot of, and to this day, I see a lot of incremental innovation, which can be fine, but for me, it's not particularly motivating. And then even worse, some companies are barely incrementally innovative and now they're reactive. There's a lot of reacting, especially as markets go all over the place. And so in many ways, I felt sort of done with that kind of decision making. I will say startups are perhaps the only part of tech left that is still largely innovation driven, but even that is slowing, especially if your startup involves hardware in any way, shape, or form, because hardware is so capital intensive. But yeah, sort of recognizing that combined with like the personal awakening I was describing is really, I think, how this first came about.
So, before we started recording, you were telling me a little bit about how part of your journey included having to redefine success. Tell us more about that, please.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a vulnerable topic, and I'm happy to share more on it. In your book, you talk about sense of reward, and that was something I really had to do a lot of work on before I was totally comfortable and confident leaving tech and starting my own business. What I really ended up needing to do was to redefine success. I needed to update my definition of success. I think I'm not alone in saying that, I spent a portion of my life um, judging how successful I was based off of the size of my paycheck, for example. Um, and that actually, the more I examined that, it no longer really fit. It didn't make sense to me anymore. It isn't actually what was mattering to me as my values and priorities were shifting. Yes, I want to make a comfortable living, but um, it wasn't the end all be all. definition of what makes me successful. And so I really had to do a lot of work to understand that, and then to, sort of cut that direct link between size of paycheck equals how successful I am, what my value is. And it took a lot of work, but I'm still working through it, to be honest. But I think I'm in a much healthier place. And I feel pretty great about it. And tactically, another thing that was important for me was to allow myself to actually tap into my savings account. Um, and, um, you know, the money had always gone in for years, and now I was, for the first time, going to take some money out. And that was an emotional experience I wasn't expecting to be difficult, but it was. And so I also needed to learn to sort of allow myself to receive. Like, old me did a lot, burned herself out, had a lot of success in terms of finances. Let's, use some of that now to make sure that I can propel myself forward in this new space with, better alignment to my values and priorities. And so thank you, old me. I'm going to allow myself to use some of that.
Yeah, that's what it's there for.
Exactly.
So we're recording this in April 2025. I think you were saying that you were starting your new venture in October. So we're just over a half a year in. Tell us what you're doing and possibly how it's different or similar to what you were doing.
Yeah. 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 Thanks for asking. So I'm running my own advising and consulting businesses, and it focuses on helping those who are looking to reinvent productivity and or enhance national security. And there is an overlap in that Venn diagram. And so obviously that is an area I'm also targeting. Um, so if you're one of those folks but the status quo isn't working, and you're really trying to have more impact with your product or the work that you're doing, but you're not exactly sure how to most effectively move forward, that's where partnering with me might be worth exploring. So 20 years of experience in numerous challenging environments, is I'm excited to pull that together and use that to help a large variety of people instead of just helping one company by being their employee. So in many ways, I get to pull everything together and help more people. And I also get to do it on my terms in the ways that I believe are most effective. And I think that's where I honestly stand apart, in my approach. And so advising and consulting can be super effective, but it's more effective when it's blended with actionable and personalized coaching. The advising and consulting can target the business issue and the conditions, but the coaching is where you target the human element. And let's just be honest, most business issues, um, have either a very strong human component that's causing, um, the challenge, or it's the root cause. And so being able to tackle both of those is where I like to focus.
Yeah, and I was thinking a little bit about that Venn diagram. And what made me curious is, at least when we're recording this, we hear so much about vibe coding and about people who think they want to be fast and innovative using AI tools, sometimes avoiding working with engineers and specialists
Yeah.
like you. And they think, look, I'm just going to tell an AI system I need an innovative thingy
Yeah.
to do thingy, and then I'm just going to put it out and the money's going to roll in. And I feel like they're not thinking about all kinds of points in that journey, from am I solving a real problem to am I easily hackable? So what are some of
Yeah.
you're welcome to disagree, but what are some of your thoughts on that wave right now?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I am excited about the wave because I do think there's a lot of opportunity to open up productivity if you can smartly partner with AI, but the trick is to partner, not delegate. And I don't think we're at a place where you can confidently, or you should confidently delegate, especially when it comes to this sort of problem solving, including because I don't think the AIs in particular understand the human element, the culture of your particular workplace. And when I say culture, what do I mean? I mean like the the common experiences and beliefs that people have because of, the way things happen there. That is very different from team to team, let alone company to company. And if you're actually going to solve something at its root, you have to include that human element. And if you don't, you're going to end up having to resolve the problem later. And I'm real big on trying to solve things at their root cause. And so I do agree that can help with certain things, and can get you sort of moving in a good direction. But the trick is you have to actually partner with it, not delegate.
I love that. Thanks so much for saying that. It's a great way to look at it. I also wanted to, I've been asking everybody this, so now you're on the hot seat as well. Thinking about your new business venture, how would you say that this ties in with some of your core personal qualities, who you are at the core?
Yeah. Yeah. And you have a chapter in your book around that, and I really appreciated it. It resonated with me. And I think really being able to flesh out what my core values are today, as the Nicole today, is one of the things that allowed me to sort of turn disappointment and chaos, in terms of my feelings about tech, into like action that was able to inspire me and move me forward. So I was no longer wanting to run from something. Instead, because I understood my values, it's almost like I had a compass and I could excitedly move towards something. So the foundation of my work today comes from that. Um, and it just feels really great to be able to say that I now have a job where I can legitimately help people because I'm able to give my best, because I'm able to use all my experience and my expertise and my superpowers, my ability to work the way I know I need to, and to live my values. And if all of those conditions are true, then you get the best of me, and I can deliver a hell of a lot more than I could, the way that I was needing to work or being asked to work, in a sector that, I don't know, just doesn't align with, who I am on the inside anymore. And for what it's worth, my particular values, um, there are ease. It's important. If something feels hard, it's probably because I'm approaching it maybe smartly, but I should look at it from a more of a wisdom perspective. What is the wise way to move forward with something? I enjoy connecting with others, connecting into my superpowers. Feeling alive while I'm doing something is another value of mine. Like if I don't feel fully engaged, at least some of the time, then chances are it's, probably out of alignment with my values. And again, using my superpowers and my privilege for good. It's really important that I use my privilege for good, and um, I'm excited to be able to lean into that now.
Yeah, great way to say it. I was recently doing an exercise in the coaching school I'm going to, and they were asking some question about these types of things. And all I could think of was, I can only hope that every day someone will call me an ally.
I like that. Yes, I couldn't agree more.
I hope to earn it. Yeah, I thought you might be feeling that. On the flip
Yeah.
side, looking back especially at version 3.0 pivot, is there anything you think might have been a mistake or a regret?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know if it's mistake or regret, or like I wish I would have had the knowledge I have now, whatever that word is. It summarizes all that. But yeah, there definitely is. I think I spent far too long not realizing I was letting myself be driven by old stories. I was telling myself about myself. Or another way I like to think about it is the algorithm wasn't updated. It was still weighting old bad data, if you will, and not necessarily weighting the more recent data, um, that was fed into it. And so, because I think too long, um, let myself stay in that space, I missed out on opportunities to help more people, and I missed out on opportunities to improve my own well-being and my happiness. So I wish I would have sort of come online, updated the software, whatever words you want to use, sooner.
That's such a great point, and thanks for sharing that, because sometimes between these podcasts and other conversations like in our Discord community, there are people who are starting to realize, I'm not sure working in tech was as good or fulfilling as I thought it was at the time. Like they're looking back with fresh lenses, or a new perspective. Did any of that happen to you?
Oh yeah, completely. For what's worth, most of the things you talk about in the Life After Tech book resonated with me. It sort of, I stumbled my way and fell through it. I wish I would have read the book before that I started on this journey. And after reading it, it was very validating for what it's worth. And what you just described is definitely what happened to me. It's through hindsight that I was able to have an honest conversation with myself and just admit that certain things weren't working for me. But that takes a certain amount of, I say, grit or courage, because there are a lot of people that will pass negative judgment on your decision to not live the way they do. Um, and what I found, though, in examining that, like actually sort of removing my emotions from it and examining that sort of situation, is that there are many, many others who are exhausted and they're unfulfilled and they're afraid to admit it to themselves and others. And they're often the first or most likely to pass judgment on your decision not to live the way they are. Um, and so I realize now that when that happens, or I experience that, I'm on the receiving end of it, more often than not, it has nothing to do with me. And so I'm able to sort of put that aside and move forward.
Excellent point there about that we can accidentally be that mirror to someone else and their decisions, and they're kind of trying to live through us in some way, or give us advice that isn't really finely attuned to what we might need or prefer. I also wanted to
Yeah.
mention hashtag not sponsored really quickly, because I did not ask you to plug the book. I didn't even know
Oh
that
no.
you'd read it, and I just feel so
Yeah.
honored that you keep mentioning it. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, like it was, if you haven't read the book, it legitimately will save you thousands of hours and stress. It mirrored very well the experience I sort of fumbled through. Um, and I wish I would have known this, cheat sheets ahead of time. Although I am someone where it's hard to tell me what to do. And so in many ways, maybe it needed to be me figuring it out, and I figured it out, and the book very well summarizes it.
Yeah, it's that I tend to think of my audience as smart critical thinkers. And so, how much do you tell them what to do? No, not that much, but
Yeah.
hopefully, you can guide them down the paths where they'll have their own
Yeah.
realizations.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, the part of the book that I thought was the most wise was when you ended it talking about moving past fear. Because honestly, that's what all of this really is. Um, and I have a new, like a way that I think about fear now. So, what I like to do for myself, at least, is when my body throws the notification, like fight or flight, I know what that feels like. Oh, for me, it's like my head feels full and I can feel heavy in my chest. So when I get that notification, instead of just reacting to it, fight or flight, freeze, I instead examine the notification. Like, think about all the notifications you get on your phone. Do you really respond to all of them at the exact moment they come in? Is it spam? Is it a legit emergency? Is it someone you don't care to speak to anymore? Does it, is it Comcast telling you the bill is due? Like, I don't want to be at the mercy of my notifications. And so when my body sort of throws it's time to be scared, I do my best to pause and be like, do I really need to? It's an email. Why are we fight or flighting an email? Or so let's actually not be at the mercy of, what my body may actually think is, something that we need to be scared about. More often than not, I found that when I feel that sort of energy, it's just because I'm excited. I'm about to do something new that I've never done before. It's not that I'm scared and in danger. But I needed to slow down and learn to have that kind of relationship with fear, to be honest. But yeah, I thought that was great that you ended the book with that part.
Yeah, thanks. And that was even before I went to coaching school, where now we've learned so much about somatics and the idea of so many things about our thoughts and beliefs and all these other things are reflected in the body, whether it's that quick sensation in your chest or something much larger. And I think even though they don't say in coaching, they're teaching us, like, now we have to ask ourselves, is that truth or illusion that our body is reflecting back to us? But my question for some people would be, are we listening or are we medicating?
Yeah, that's smart. Are we listening or medicating? Yeah. Yeah. In many ways, it means having a relationship with your physical body. And I don't know if a lot of people have one. And they just think they are their body. And I'm one of those folks that when you think about me, I hope you don't think about my hand. Like, I'm not, I'm not my body. And so if you continue down that thought pattern, you realize that you can have like a very defined relationship with with your body, and in many ways that can help with a lot of this, to be honest.
Yeah, listening to those messages, because the messages will keep coming. And I learned over 20 years ago that when my right arm starts kind of freezing up, that I'm not exactly burnt out, but I'm much more stressed out than I'm allowing myself to know. And when I feel that, that's when I say, oh, wait a minute, that's my message that I'm at a high stress level. I'm going to turn off the computer. I'm going to talk to some dogs. I'm going to cook something. I'm going to go do something to kind of create that break. You don't have to share yours with us, but do you feel those types of things as well?
Yeah, that's really great that you recognize that. I think for me, if something feels urgent, like the house is burning down urgent, I I'm like, okay, let's check ourselves right now. And is this email really worth all of me being this sort of invested, for example? But then also in terms of stress indicators, my nails stop growing. And that means I've spent maybe a few weeks in periods where my nails just become I've spent a few weeks in stress and then my nails just become brittle. And then also this eye, just the left one, will have micro twitches that no one can see, but I can feel them. Um, and so, yeah, that's when my body is like clearly on the edge of being burnt out, or I'm pushing it, past the point of having enough gas to keep going. And so I need to do something, which
Yeah,
usually means closing the laptop and going outside.
right, touch the grass. One of the exercises I put on my coaching website was like trying to, before you feel burnt out or super stressed out, learn to recognize some of those early signs, because we do get those signs, whether they're thoughts or feelings or a sense of unmet needs or the somatics of the body. Just how early can we recognize those? And then can we, I hate to sound too cheesy, but can we love ourselves enough to take action on those?
Yeah. Yeah. And the love ourselves enough can be hard for some folks to like hear, listen, buy into, act on, which is, but I think another way to say the same thing then is, can we have a relationship with our body where we're taking care of it? Like it's our iPhone or our car or these other things that we always, like if something goes wrong, we attend to it. And we notice the notification, we see the light on the dashboard, like, okay, then you take an action. Well, you should. Most people do. And so that's, I think, another way to perhaps approach it from, with the same intent. Um, yeah.
I love the way you said that, because it's such a great reminder that if the check engine light came on, we would eventually do something. If our dog is hungry, we're going to do something. And can we see our own check engine light? Can we see our own
Yeah.
hungry dog?
Yes. Perfect. Exactly. Exactly.
We've got a couple more questions for our adventure together today. One is that some of our listeners might be thinking about making some sort of career shift, maybe adding non
Mm.
tech work to their universe or transitioning out of tech or more into entrepreneurialism. What advice would you give them?
Yeah. Um, Explore. I think the advice I would give is to, fully explore that thought. Um, Figure out what is driving it, and maybe even take some time to examine, who you are today and what you value, and then compare who you are today and those values to how you're needing to live or how you're working. Um, and if you can compare those two and see there might be a gap, that might be an indicator that, yeah, you are making the right decision to move forward. Even if others are saying, no, why would you leave such a great job and all those other things? They don't live your life. You have to live yours. And so just doing it from a place where you've done some examination to really understand it, so you can have the confidence to take steps forward.
Yeah, thank you. Love that. And finally, how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you or please, everyone, hire Nicole? How do we find you?
Yeah, thanks. The fastest way to the source of truth really is my website. So nfmsoc.com. That will tell you more about myself, my business, services I offer, and provide an email for you to reach out. I'm happy to talk to folks. We can swap stories. We can explore how I might be able to help you on your journey. Just in general, I always appreciative to hear from folks.
Wonderful. I hope people will reach out to Nicole. And Nicole, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you. I've enjoyed the conversation and it's been really great. So thank you.
It's whatever, and it's never